Okay, so next on the topic, I'm going to talk about cash flow. So unless you're from a finance background, or you run your own business and you've got some good experience, or you've been a senior manager in a decent sized business where you're then responsible for the profit and loss of a business and that kind of thing, cash flow is arguably the most important thing that you need to look at. There's a classic cliche, which I kind of hate, which is cash is king. But there's loads of studies and stuff on actually how, dependent on how you build your business and structure your business and actually structure how you pay people and how you get paid, it can cause loads of headaches. So again, what we're looking to do is just plant that seed, tell you some of the theory behind it to help you understand it. We have a whole module on finance, which is module 16 in the roadmap, which teaches you about profit and loss and balance sheets and lots of different things. But just the basics of cash flow, I thought could be quite interesting for, just a few minutes in kind of what I wanted to do. So what I've chosen to do is talk about a fictional company that makes spaceships. I purposely picked spaceships because they're really expensive and a lot goes into making them and they take a long time, but you can actually apply this to anything. I'll give you a few different examples just in terms of things to consider, but actually for whatever your product or service is, just kind of keep it in mind for what you do. So we set up a spaceship company. We could be, instead of SpaceX, we'll be Space Y. But the point is you have an idea for a business and you're really passionate about it and you want to kind of set up and do that. And you've figured out that you have the best spaceships in the world and you can make your spaceships for $4 million. Sorry, I'll correct. You sell your spaceships for $4 million. You can make this billions, the figure doesn't matter. You sell for 4 and you make them for 3, which means for any of the maths geniuses out there, you can make a clear £1 million profit on your magical new spaceship that you can kind of make. So on the basics of it, that seems like a great business because actually you buy stuff in for £3 million, you can sell it for £4 million and you make £1 million net profit. Happy days, that is a great business that you can run to really, if people buy the product and that kind of thing. Now, in the same scenario, imagine you launch the business with £5 million in the bank. One of the things that will happen, and especially as an engineer from an engineering background, this is relevant to a lot of the companies that I kind of work with. If you make a high value product, especially if it takes a long time to get paid, you can actually get into real difficulty in terms of actually how you grow and implement these contracts. So on a basic profit and loss level, where you look at the end of the year, where how much stuff did we sell, what was our gross margin, what was our net profit, and actually how much money did we make at the end of it, a profit and loss will tell you that. What a profit and loss doesn't tell you is the flow of cash through the business. Because the truth is, if you run out of cash as a business at any point, you're kind of dead if you can't pay your suppliers. Yes, you can go to the bank and get finance, but the point is it's something that's really kind of critical to think of. So going back to this, imagine you have your spaceship or satellite or whatever you want to kind of call it. You want to sell that to a big government agency or a really big company. It wouldn't be uncommon that that company says, yes, we want to buy it, but we want to buy it on 90-day payment terms. In oil and gas, which is kind of my background, I've seen 120 from some of the big American firms. A lot of the big UK companies might go 60 days, but for this example, I'm just going to pick 90 days. So what that means is they send you a purchase order, they agree to buy your product, and they agree to buy it at £4 million. And the terms that they agree is that either from, it depends on your milestones of whatever you agree with your contract, but either from the point of they receive the goods, they then have 90 days to then pay you. So they'll pay you 90 days later. The reason why big companies do this, it helps their own kind of cash flow. But then likewise, imagine you are a big supermarket. If you can buy your stock and then actually sell it before you have to pay for it, it's a really clever way to grow your business that actually be very cash positive. The truth is, for a lot of high value products like engineered products or spaceships or subsea energy stuff or whichever, manufacturers, because they have the power, the big oil companies, the big developers, again, want to manage their own cash flow, but because they can control the supply chain, they can often, ask for larger payment terms. So, okay, you want to make your spaceship now, and you go out and you speak to all your local suppliers, and they're like, yes, we can do it for you, and yes, we can hit the target price of £3 million, but we need to be paid after 30 days. 30 days is pretty common, especially for a mid-sized business that's probably anywhere from 0 to, I guess, 40, 50 million pounds kind of revenue. But what then starts to happen is that you sign the contract, you speak to your supplier, they go away and do what they need to do. They deliver the spaceship to you, or the parts of the spaceship, you assemble it. And then 30 days later, you have to pay them. And if you don't pay them, they'll either sue you or they'll stop producing you for when you make your next spaceship. So you really need to kind of keep that working. But what suddenly starts to happen in terms of your spaceship is that on your timeline, so this is time across the bottom, your cash starts at 5 million. After 30 days or so often, you then go -3. So you're at 2 million because you've built your first spaceship. And then happy days, but your cash balance has really dropped from £5 million in the bank to £2 million in the bank. But you kind of know you're going to make a profit on the end, but actually, you know, that's just where you're at the moment. If you only ever sold one rocket, providing your overheads aren't really high, you could actually ride out the storm, wait 90 days, and then get paid. But the issue is, and this is where companies can grow into pain, grow into trouble, is that imagine they sold 2 rockets. So they don't want one, they want 2. And they want the other one straight away. What then starts to happen is that, okay, well, actually, we're going to have 8 million quid come in. Fantastic. Oh, but actually our costs are going to be 6. And they might be staggered. So say the other one comes after you, but actually then it's 6 million. Suddenly what you've then got is, although the profit will be there, you're at -1 million after 60 days. And actually, at that point, when you run out of cash, you can't pay your suppliers, you can't pay your staff, you can't pay your bills, you can't pay your rates. And actually, you're still not going to get paid for another, I guess, another 30, another 60 days. And actually, just cash flow is really important, that when you're looking at a business for whatever it is that you do, a conscious awareness of when you have to pay for the stuff, your raw materials, is really important. It's not fixed, but you can negotiate it, but it's something to be cautious of. But as a senior manager or leader in a business, if you're looking to run a firm, one of the big things I always look at when I negotiate oil and gas contracts or any high kind of value contract, it's all about the payment terms. That if this company had $5 billion in the bank, so there was a huge cash buffer, you can often do one-off contracts which are, you know, they will impact your cash flow in the short term, but actually never to the point where it becomes critical and you actually run out of cash. Does that make sense? And it's because of this, there's so many variables in terms of how you need to both have an awareness of a problem, but actually, you know, there's so many different things around it. For instance, if you had a cupcake business and you make any kind of consumer product which people pay cash for straight away. So on your regular high street, almost any of those scenarios. So imagine you're a fashion brand, you have your shop, you buy in all your stock that you want to sell, and you pay them on 30-day payment terms or 60-day payment terms. As soon as that stock arrives, in theory, a customer can come into the shop, pay cash straight away, so you get instant money, and you can actually have 60 days worth of trading and getting money in before you ever have to pay for the goods. And that's part of the reason why big retailers, big companies will do that, is that they can actually help their cash flow, but they can almost have the money to pay for their goods before they need it, if that makes sense. And when you have that kind of scenario, you can grow mega quick. And the idea would be, as long as people want to keep buying the products, that's when you can achieve scalable growth, where your cost of customer acquisition and profit is lower than the cost to actually kind of do it. And you really kind of run with it. In a lot of scenarios though, if you are a fishmonger and you need to buy £1,000 worth of stock, there's always the worry about, will the fish quite literally go off? Will it be out of date before you sell it? And there's a lot of nuance about what you do. And then one of the things that we try and do on the roadmap as well is that business education is traditionally just broadcast. It will tell you the theory and it'll give you lots of clever charts about stuff and what you do and how you should manage kind of cash flow. But the one thing it doesn't do, which is the classic consultancy thing that you always need to consider, is asking the question to really understand the needs of the customer and the needs of the business owner. And then you tailor the approach to that. So what we do on the roadmap is that we tailor the education, and this is in the kind of the broadcast live classroom drop-in sessions, is to actually tailor the information to you to make it relevant. And that's the one thing that I think a lot of people kind of miss. And what I just wanted to kind of explain here was just a conscious awareness on things like payment terms, things like cash flow, that actually you always want as big a buffer as you can get so that you can pay for anything unexpected, or your suppliers, or whichever, to really make sure that you can really have a really successful business. So this exact same business that makes the rockets and sells them at a profit could be a fantastic business, but it all just comes down to payment terms and the amount of money that you've got in the bank, which dictates the amount of runway that you kind of get as well. My name's Steve Pugh. If you kind of catch this on YouTube or LinkedIn, please feel free to get in touch. A cheeky like and subscribe is always welcome. And if you have any questions, either to do with your own business or someone else's or whichever, please feel free to get in touch.